I see you're a fan of John Beck.
We're working on technical details here right now. I'm working on getting so thank you all for coming, and it's really great to see you all. And maybe in a minute I can just check with Anne and Nancy. I think this computer set up to the council. I would like
Right. Right.
I'm going to talk about the microphone. It's over there, where the speakers are going to be. But can you hear me? We could do okay. The table is there.
Yeah.
Can we bring it around the front and then I can we might have to move the table. Yeah, and switch the computer is on that side. What's the matter? So they can see that. Right.
That's the one that's
all right. Okay, so we have to do, all right. I need to actually one person. Can you carry that as part?
Why can't I?
Because you're moving the table, the whole
I'm moving
table.
the table.
Yeah.
This way.
Yeah.
Don't let anybody see this, that's secret for later. They're saying, well, you'll see in a minute.
Okay, now, okay, now, get that down, get that table there.
This?
I want to know the one that's on the chair.
Right. Put it, yeah. Here, Ellen.
Okay,
Didn't we say you
Get here.
walk around?
yes, yes.
Ellen,
Okay, can you bring it around to the front of the podium? More direct? Okay. That, we're gonna have.
no, touch something.
But now it's not, now the time is not on. So you want me to test? Standing here, right?
Yeah.
Can you see?
Which is it going?
Goes in here. All right.
It doesn't sit. It's good?
Yeah.
See what it did? So
Okay.
it's not, it wasn't.
All right. Now you need to readjust this.
Well, good. Stay there. Oh, look at that. Look at that.
All right.
No, okay.
Uh, go again. I can't move it back anymore. Let me see. That's good. I mean, I can. You know what I'm doing?
Yeah, I unmute. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. Hi. I don't know if you can hear me. I can't hear anything any of you are saying.
Hi,
But
hi, Eva.
hi, I'm Gail's cousin. If anybody doesn't know me, and I'm supposed to give a tour before we start of the space. It's really nice. So I'm gonna.
Hi, Eva.
I'll take you all around. Hi. I don't know who said that. I can't see anything. I'm on my phone. Sorry.
Can you turn up your microphone?
This is Ellen. She's our tech host.
Okay, okay, I need hands right. You not want me to talk? That's not just yet. Okay. Yeah, yeah. So, and right, I would like you to unmute and talk. I'm testing.
All right, here, the tour is beginning. This is a nice gentleman who works at the space. This is all the guests. We've got this nice space. I have no idea what this is. I'm like the worst tour guide, you guys. Do you know who I am? This is Sylvie. I'm gonna mute.
So when you want, like the volume on your end, it'll all.
These are Gail's buttons.
I'm getting there. I should have done this a lot earlier. Because I'm Yeah, it can work out here.
Can I get either Ann Wright or Nancy, the cousin, to unmute and do a sound check here?
Jessica, hi.
Hi, Ellen. Yes, I can hear you.
This is the Zoom.
Okay,
Oh, hi,
Ann,
everyone.
good. Nancy?
I can hear you.
Okay, we can hear you too. Cool. Okay, I'm gonna shut down and Eva's gonna go around and talk to people and give you some sense of the place.
Hi, the Zoom. The Zoom funeral. Oh, hello. I muted the sound, you guys, because it was really loud. I see that some people are complaining about that.
Eva, could you tell us what the flowers are?
Like what kind of flowers?
What do they represent? Are they
Well, I think they're just photos of Gail, and she was a gardener. I don't really know. I was sort of thrust into this tour, but I wasn't told any information. So you guys kind of know as much as I know. Sorry that I'm not the best tour guide, but they're nice pictures of her. I don't know, maybe they're party favors.
Eva, do you think you could narrate? This is Katie. Do you think you could narrate your tour a little bit? That would be nice, if you don't mind.
Sure. Well, I'm just showing you what I'm seeing. So there's flowers, there's these little vases. They've got pictures of her. I don't really, like I said, know what it's about. There's these cards where people can share a memory. So I saw there was some people filling that out. This is Alex's kids. You guys say hi to your extended family on Zoom. Just wave. There's Alex. We'll go say hi. There's Billy. We already said hi.
Hey,
Alex, say hi.
Hi, Eva, could you show us the family that's there?
Yeah. So Billy and Alex you saw. Hi, that's Mark Brody. This is Sylvie's here. Peter's right there with his son and his daughter and his wife. We got Enrique over here. Say hi to the Zoom, Enrique.
Hi, Enrique.
He has no idea.
Here we got, this is the main room. We got Tarek and Eleanor at the front. Let's go see who we can find that's in the family. We got Maria. We got my dad. Say hi.
You're waiting.
My mom. That's Nettie.
Netsie is there. Oh, don't.
Yeah, Nessie's on her phone. Okay, I'll go show you.
You want
I don't know if I'm allowed to not be muted in here because there's a feedback issue. Here's Larry and Steve.
Hi.
Hi. This is Dorothy. I don't know if you guys know Dorothy was Gail's best friend. Right? Yeah. Say hi. This is our family on Zoom. Okay. We got, this is like a large chunk of the grandchildren. That's Jessica's partner, Melanie. There's Allegra in the back. We have a Palestine shirt on Ann Shirazi. Jessica. Lots of people. I don't really know what else to show you guys. That's what we got going on. I'm gonna go in the other room so I can hear if you have questions.
Thanks, Eva. That was really nice, actually.
All right, was there questions? Sorry, I
Thanks,
can't
Eva.
hear.
That was, as Freddie said, that's great.
Okay, great. This is a book, I guess people, let's see what's in this book. Oh, this is the book Gail did, like, she did this memoir thing where they would send her prompts and she would fill out the prompts. And this is that book. I wonder if we can get copies of this. But this is so cool. Oh. This is really sweet, this book. I don't know how well you guys can see it. But that's nice. I think Neil took this photo. We got this photo. We got, well, there's multiple copies of the book. And people are sharing memories. We got more photos over here. Oh, look, she's so young. Yeah, this is the family Zoom. All right. Sylvia, are we starting soon? Okay, so I can stop. I can sign off of this, or should I wait until it starts? Okay.
luck.
Hey guys, I'm gonna say bye in Davidson. All right. Love you guys.
Thanks, Eva.
Thanks, Eva.
Talk to the camera right here. Okay, I'm talking to the camera. Okay? Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we
You
can
need me
hear
to say
you.
anything more?
Yes, now we
saying-
can hear you. Now we
We
can
can
hear
hear
you.
you.
Hi, I'm Sylvie, for those who don't know, that's okay. So, thank you all for coming. We're gonna get the program started, and I would just ask that you take a second to please silence your phones. My brother Alan and my sister Allegra and I will be back up at the end of the program. But for now, we're gonna give it off to, the love of my mom's life, Billy.
Hello, everybody. We're here to celebrate Gail's life. For me, it's a tough day. Celebration is a joyous occasion, and we should all be experiencing that today. But it's hard for me because I still feel the burden and the pain of her not being. That's the reality. When we met, there was an immediate connection. It was like love at first sight, to use the cliche. But we were very different. We had really different personalities. I was extremely organized. Everything's got to be in the right place, everything neat. Gail was the extreme opposite, total chaos. You know, the kind of chaos is, where's my wallet? Did you see my phone? I can't find this, I can't find that. Her first reaction to any suggestion, no matter how crazy it was yes. My first reaction to any suggestion, no matter how wonderful it was no, and that's really true. Gail, by the time I met her, had traveled to most parts of the world. I didn't have a passport. So speaking about contrasts, but over the years, we took the best from each other. Gail got much more organized. One example, Gail was an incredible cook, but she had a collection of recipe paper like this home. Recipes from newspapers from years ago, recipes that she downloaded. She sat down one day, a couple of months ago, and organized it like I wrote. It was amazing. Soups, salads, vegetables, alphabetically, it was insane. So we took the best from each other, and that was the wonder of our relationship. Gail was not an easy person. I'm the first to tell you that. I'll give you one example. Many years ago, it's my birthday. Gail says, oh, I'm gonna make a really good pasta dish. But I want to make the pasta from scratch. I don't want to get boxed pasta from the supermarket. Okay, then she says, we need a machine that you do that. We didn't have that. Okay, let's go out and buy them. So we go to the first store and they had a pasta making machine, but it was electric, we plugged it in. Gail wants one that's manual that we turn by hand. So every store we went to had a pasta machine, none of them had the one she wanted. So we go home and she still doesn't do it. I'm gonna make the pasta from scratch just by hand. Hours later, we sat down for dinner and we both agreed. It was terrible. But she was stubborn, when she put her mind to something, get out of the way. There's no way you're gonna change it, no way you're gonna stop her. And that was, in most cases, a wonderful trait, because she carried everything through to the end. She didn't stop at anything. She wasn't very good at apologizing. Another example. I'm sitting in Brooklyn, it's late in the afternoon, and she sees, oh, they're playing this great movie up in the Upper West Side somewhere. Let's go. Gail, it's raining out. So whatever it was, let's go. Okay, we go, we schlep, we go to parking, we get into the movie theater. The movie starts, I'm watching, and I look to my right, and she's sound asleep. Okay. I watched the movie's over. Big Gail, you slept through the whole movie. No, I did not. I only slept through the bad parts. That's her apology. Gail had some rough edges. No denying that. But she was truly an amazing person. And being with her all the time and knowing everything about her, being everything. I appreciate everything she was doing and understood everything she was doing. But it's only after she passed when I started thinking about her and reading what people said and reflecting on all she's done. It kind of blew my mind how incredibly amazing she was on so many different levels. When she retired, she became, as she referred to herself, as a full-time activist. She stood firm in the face of injustice wherever she stood. She couldn't let anything pass her by. She stood up to arm the Israeli soldiers. If there's a march of protest, she was there. She had a rap sheet that Tony Soprano would be very impressed with. It's a Friday night, we're up in her apartment, it's raining out, Gail's putting on her coat. Where are you going? Oh, 96th Street, me and some of the other women giving out some leaflets tonight. Never said no. She was everywhere for every cause where there was something wrong with injustice. She was truly fearless. It's scary how fearless she was. It scared me. Little things like walking down the street, somebody throws a tissue, a piece of paper on the sidewalk. She picks it up, runs over to that person. Sir, you dropped this. That was a gift. So I'm going to tell you this one story that she loved to repeat. This is an amazing story. Her children were young, maybe 9, 11, and 13, something like that. She's coming back from Florida after a visit with her parents. They get to the terminal in Palm Beach. She dropped off her children with the luggage and they go inside the terminal. She returns the rental car. She gets back to the terminal. There's a line. They're told that the terminal is too crowded and they can't let anybody else in. Okay, she's waiting in line. While she's waiting, this very, I guess, sassy, attractive woman goes by, says a few words to the policeman to the door of the terminal, And he opens the door, and lets her in. Now, Gail's not gonna let that happen. No way. She walks up to the police and says, why did you let her in? We're waiting on line. He said, get back in line, lady. Gail says, you're making a fucking mistake. The policeman says, if you use that word again, I'm gonna arrest you. Gail calmly walks back 3 steps and says, fuck, fuck, fuck. Talk about feelings. He pushed her to the ground, he put her on handcuffs, the kid was screaming, put her in jail. The charges were dropped. They originally charged her for inciting a riot. And she then sued the police department down there. And during one of the depositions, her attorney asked the policeman, you said she was inciting a riot. Well, when she said those words, did anybody start to have sex? That's right. It was that absurd. Fortunately, she won a nice settlement. She was able to take her kids on a trip to Venezuela. She was feeling. Gail used to always say to me, I'm not a leader. I do a lot of things, I go along with people, but I'm not a leader. Boy, was she wrong. She started a group called Women of a Certain Age. They're going to go to Palestine, and they're going to stand up and protect the rights of Palestinian people. These are elderly people. That's the women of a certain age. And she opened that group, and they planned, and they had meetings, and they went. We're going to hear more about that from the people who were actually involved in that. She was on one of the first boats to go, along with many other well-known people. Well, it didn't get out of the harbor of Greece. It got off a little bit. The Greece Navy stopped them. Had to come back. You're going to hear about more about that a little later, probably. But she was, one of the leaders of that group. And to this day, until the day she passed, she was very active in boats to Gaza. Very active. One day she said, and we've been to Cuba a few times. We have friends in Cuba. She said, why don't we take people from Camp Kindle to Cuba? And she organized and planned and worked out a trip. The first trip was 120 people, and then it was so successful, she led a second trip. Many, many years before I met her, she started with other people a food co-op in the Upper West Side. She worked with Lucius Walker, who was IFCO, setting up a whole program sending medical students to Cuba. And these are just a few of the things she did. She wasn't a leader. Gosh. She was a person who cared. She cared about everything. She was annoying. She cared about everything. Everything. Everything from, no, you don't put a container of milk on the table. It's got to be in a pitcher. You don't think this. You can't do that. Little crap. That is enough. But she cared about people. And she cared about injustice. And what symbolizes that was when her mother got older and needed a place to be, and she couldn't be in the home that she was in for various reasons, Gail took her in. Now they had a very difficult relationship. It was not, peaches and cream, but she did it. And not only did she just take care of her, she really made her mother's life full. She brings her mother to Woodstock. Mother's now in a wheelchair. And mother's like in and out, sleeping a lot and so on. She's going to take her to Saratoga to hear some country. In the car, schlepping, doing and all that. But that's what the right thing to do is. But she really cared. And the joy of those few years when her mother lived there, that her mother and she bonded, her mother appreciated what she did. It was a very powerful connection. She cared when she worked. She worked with teenagers in high schools as a social worker. We'll hear more about that. And, she loved those children. They came from troubled, difficult homes. They really had nothing going for them. A very difficult job to try to help them. But she did, many of her students made it, and some are here today. And they loved her, and she loved them. It was a true caring about their well-being. She wasn't doing a job. She was caring about people individually. Gail was a very generous person. Her apartment was open to relatives, friends, travelers, political activists, everybody. And she was just generous. If you needed something and you didn't know how to do it, call Gail. And it's a poem, that Dorothy wrote about that. I can't figure this out. I'll figure it out for you. Or I don't know how to, they don't want me to do, I'll check it out. She volunteered to do anything that you needed help with. One of the things about Gail that most moved me was her passion. I so admired that. Oh, we have maple trees. We get maple syrup from maple trees. I'm going to make syrup. This is about 8, 9 years ago. And once she felt it, then she dove in and never let go. This season, when she was not well, she was out there. I was helping, but she was out there with a mask of oxygen on, so she couldn't breathe well, making maple syrup. The passion just took over. She was passionate about learning. She was reading books. She formed book clubs. She went to lectures. She heard this. She just couldn't take it enough of everything she can learn about. She was so involved in so many things. It's just insane how she got everything together. She was committed to family. We blended our 2 families and have an amazing group of 5 children and 15 grandchildren. She was the matriarch of that family. I mean, she was the one that made those Thanksgiving dinners, those annual gatherings in Woodstock, those Passover Seder's, the birthday parties. It was clear to her, and she and I talked about it, because we grew up with large families. Back then, everybody lived in the same neighborhood. Our cousins were nearby. And Gail, we both tried, and she really pushed to make it work. And she was very, very successful. I miss her. I miss how we used to cuddle in bed at night. We always, every night, my right arm would go over her sideways, and we'd fall asleep that way. I miss the conversations we had. Sitting at the dinner table, talking about family, talking about politics, talking about that stupid movie we saw, talking about friends, just talking and sharing, talking about our fears, talking about our concerns. It's kind of a rich experience with a person who you trusted enormously. I miss the fun we had. We had a lot of fun. We'd play Scrabble, she would cheat, but that was okay. She said, no, that's a word, whatever, it doesn't matter. She was very competitive, by the way. That just is an aside. So, in little ways, one way is, over the last few years, I lost a lot of weight. Well, she said, wait a second. You're almost my weight. That can't stand. And then within the next couple of months, she lost a lot of weight. Or another thing, the New York Times every Friday has a news quiz. 11 questions. Okay, Billy, how many did you get right? Always competitive, but in a warm, caring, loving way. I miss the trust that we have for each other and the support we gave each other. It's going to be hard, but I miss that. I want to thank my children. for really being supportive, caring, and helping me to get through this. They've been wonderful. Thank you all.
Hi, I was told that I could speak for 5 minutes, and I wrote down all these things, and now Billy said them all, so I'm gonna have to wing it and think of some other things, because I could have spoken about Gail for much, much longer, because she was so amazing and was so important in my life. I'm Larry, and I'm Gail's first cousin, and my mother, Betty, and Gail's mother, Phyllis, were 2 of the 8 sisters and 2 brothers of our grandparents, Sarah Leah and Mutta Gershon. And Mutta Gershon died shortly before Gail was born, and she was named after him. That's why she's Marilyn Gail Miller.
Hang on a second, let's fix it.
What?
Let's fix it. Yeah,
Am
I'm
I-
having feedback.
I'm doing something bad.
No, it's not, you're good. Try now. Try talking.
Hello?
Okay.
Okay. I'm not starting over again. You have to bear with. So our grandfather married somebody else, and the house was not welcoming to these kids, and so Phyllis, Gail's mother, and my mother, and my uncle Arthur, and my aunt Evelyn, and Aunt Mary got an apartment of their own. They borrowed money from another cousin, and they got money and started this and got this apartment. And Mary and Evelyn were still in elementary school. And in that apartment, they worked, they supported each other, and they became atheists and communists. I'm not sure about Uncle Arthur. And they all got married out of that apartment. And Phyllis married my Uncle Iz, and they had Gail and Neil was my best friend for many, many years. And Gail was born near the end of the Depression, about 6 months before Pearl Harbor. At Gail's moving, beautiful burial this April, people called out Presente. And I saw that that's on the cover of the book of questions and answers that's outside that Gail wrote all these wonderful things in. And it's a common call to honor those who are, in fact, at that moment, no longer physically present. And I usually do this when I'm quoting an academic. Diana Taylor of Duke University, in her book, Presente, The Politics of Presence, wrote that Presente is as much an act, a word, and an attitude. Presente can be understood as a war cry in the face of nullification, an act of solidarity, showing up and standing with, a joyous accomplishment, walking and talking with others, the ethical imperative to stand up and speak against injustice. It links knowing to doing, to thoughtful and sustained action. So Gail really embodied being presente. She was there, and she is here now. I've known Gail my whole life. I've known her longer than anybody in this room, even though she was 4 years older than me. She was there when she carefully walked me past the poison ivy to get ice cream in Provincetown when I was 4 and she was 8. She was there for my sister Susan when Susan was healthy, and she was still there for Susan when Susan became less physically able. She was there in high school as Miss Tilden, 1958, a little known fact. I'm sad to realize that there are fewer and fewer of us who know and remember that past early history of Gail's. But Gail lived a life of being there. She was there to bring her mother, as Billy said, my aunt, to her house, and my aunt Phyllis, Gail's mother, lived in California for a while, and she was in a nursing home for a while, and none of those things really met her needs. But Gail was there for her. My aunt Phyllis, when she had a stroke, she still wanted to drive. She was a lousy driver before she had a stroke. She once had a car that rolled down the driveway. So she asked me to buy a knob to put on the steering wheel so she could drive with one hand. And so it was too expensive in a surgical supply place, so I went to a truck stop and I got her one. And, but Gail was there for her and brought her to her home. And as Billy said, they really made their life, they made peace with each other, and it was a beautiful time. And that's a big deal. But she was there alongside Eugene in support of the young boys. She didn't just talk the talk. When she supported Cuba, she organized that Seder, Passover Seder for Kimberly for almost 100 people, including 2 elderly relatives of mine, one of whom I think had cognitive difficulties by that time to go to Cuba. And I went with them on the second big Kindleman trip to Cuba. I was honored to do that, and it was truly amazing. And I stood next to Billy when he spoke at the Rosenberg Memorial in Cuba. It's not everybody that has Rosenberg Memorial. And she didn't just wring her hands about Palestinians. And when she organized women of a certain age to go to Palestine, she was 64 years old, 63 maybe. And they faced down Israeli soldiers in support of Palestinians who the Israelis were trying to arrest, and at great potential danger to themselves. She did that, and then she did it again. She went back and did it again. But she did Women's Vote to Gaza. She organized and administered the website. And so she relatively recently said, Larry, how come you haven't opened up all the emails from the Women's Vote to Gaza? And I said, how do you know? I said, denied it. She said, she knows. She could tell everybody who had got an email whether they opened it or not. And so then I had to open them all, and I had to donate more money. Because she knew. But being present and being there for Gail was so much more than that. Cousin Eva, who's here, and my daughter Molly lived in Gail's apartment, and she really supported them in their growth as fantastic young women living in New York. And that was not unusual for her to do that. She met the extraordinary Billy, the love of her life, 37 years ago, it seems impossible, at a Red Diaper Baby weekend, right? And it's, you just watch them tie their already remarkable lives together to live this remarkable joint life. And she was there to raise these 5 children, her own, Alex, Allegra, and Sylvie, and Jessica and Billy, Jessica and Peter. And they told a story recently about how the 5 of them were together for the first time, and then you had to go off to some family tragedy, and they come back. We ordered pizza. What? We ordered pizza. They ordered pizza that fits. They didn't make homemade pasta. But she was present in a million ways. She was present for her 15 grandchildren. And when Billy and she built a treehouse in Woodstock, they didn't just build it. Gail climbed up and slept there one night with some of her grandkids, right? Her presence touched and impacted all of our lives, and it still does. Those ties that bind, will be with us forever. She made us fight, and she made us laugh, and she made us smile. And though I will miss her forever, she will always be with me. Gail Presente.
How you follow that? Hi, my name is Steve, and I'm Gail's first cousin also. I use the present tense because I can't quite get used to dealing with Gail as past tense yet. I'd like to tell you a few stories which would explain why Gail meant so much to me and was so important in my life. Whoops! I didn't do that. You did it. Got it? All right, thanks. On New Year's Eve 2017, I was rushed to the hospital in grave condition. I was put into a medically induced coma that lasted for 3 weeks. When I got out of the coma, I didn't know my name or address. Somehow, however, the doctor asked me if I knew who the president was, and I stuck my tongue out, and he said, he's okay. Right after I emerged from the coma, I was sent to a rehab center. It was terribly confusing and frightening to me. I knew no one, and my memory was a blank. On the second day...
Sorry, we're working on the audio for the Zoom here. Sorry.
On the second day, I saw a woman in a huge flowery skirt walking into the center. It was my cousin Gail. We sat for hours just talking, and she jogged my memory and helped me remember so much that I had forgotten. She was so patient in helping me fill in the blanks. Soon after, I was rushed back to the hospital and underwent major surgery. Forwards to the CCU and the ICU, and then off to another rehab center. And sure enough, I came back to my room for PT, and there was my cousin Gail sitting in a chair. Again, we spent hours just talking, and again, she reminded me of so much I had forgotten. I cannot begin to explain to you how much those visits meant to me, and how they helped me restore my memory. I guess about 2 years ago, we began Zoom sessions every Sunday to spend time with family that is scattered all over the country and overseas, and were so isolated by the pandemic. People came and went, being part of a session 1 week and reappearing weeks later, but not Gail. She was there every single week, every Sunday, sun, rain, snow, or freezing weather. Gail was part of our core group. Gail explained to me how Marilyn, became Gail. She was named, as was my sister Maddie, after her mother's father, Max. She said that she hated the name Marilyn, and that if memory serves me correct, she was everything that could be recycled. And she schooled us all in what get enough herbs in an indoor garden. Gail was also a foodie, as you've heard. She was a great cook and shared her recipes freely with us. I learned from her what a Foley mill was and how it would be used to make latkes of Hanukkah. We talked endlessly about Hanukkah, about the making of latkes and the memories we have of family Hanukkah. So it was always a special holiday for the Kovic family, and we reminisced about our family seders held for years in the basement of Aunt Phyllis's apartment house, talking with Gail about our family. Bedeviled us. Early on, she experimented with virtual backgrounds in the Zoom session, and it wasn't unusual to see her floating in space or deep in a green forest. When a problem would pop up, Gail would go into Google and have an answer for us, less adept at the computers than she was. The last time we got together on Zoom, not knowing it would be the last time, there were just three of us. Gail, my cousin Gil, and myself. And we spent more than an hour just exchanging family stories. She talked about her mother's last years, and again, passing on details we knew nothing about. She talked about her dad, Uncle Is, Doctor Is, and the times he went far beyond the call of duty to help family, friends, and patients in need. She even brought up something that her father had told her about my mother, where back in the early 1940s, my mother had pneumonia, and Is, in the middle of the night, went to her and gave her what was then a miracle drug called penicillin, and that was what saved her life. We had such a wonderful time chatting, just the three of us. For the next 2 weeks, Gail was absent from our Zoom session. I was concerned and called her to find out what was wrong. I got her answering machine and left a message along the lines of, "Where the hell are you? Hope nothing's wrong. Call me," not knowing how things really were worse. Gail loved to talk about her children and her grandkids, and it teased her that she almost had enough for her two baseball teams. She loved her family, her immediate family, her cousins, her extended family. I'm not sure I could adequately convey to you the relationship we've developed in those 2 years of Sundays. She was a constant in my life. I lost my sister more than 8 years ago, and in some ways she filled that void in my life. She made me look forward to every Sunday. I go into Zoom now every Sunday, and I still look at the waiting room, expecting to see that Gail Miller is there, waiting to be admitted into the session. I love Gail, and I lack the words that adequately explain how much she meant to me. Rest in power, my cousin.
It should be coming out of the speaker. It's not, this is the input and I should be, oh, I know it's about it. Okay. All right, tell her to go. Tell her to go ahead.
Okay, you're on. No, sorry. Technical difficulties.
She has to unmute. Nancy is muted. There you go.
Hang on. Slow the last one. Turn that off.
Turn this off.
Okay, you can go. Try now, Nancy.
Okay, try now, Nancy.
I'm not seeing.
Here she is.
Okay. Okay.
Can you hear us now?
You're,
Hi, can you hear us now?
Sarah, I can hear you, but I can't hear anybody else.
I don't think she's muted.
Later, there's a slideshow, and in the program that you get on your way out, you'll see there's a family picture from 1971, probably, or two. There's 100 people of just first cousins and sisters in that picture. So that's this crew. But the most technologically savvy, shockingly, actually, was my mom. And she's not here, so we're going to struggle with this a little bit until we get our bearings while she's, send us some help, Mom. In the meantime, I'm going to suggest if we don't get this quickly, that we're going to just move on.
We got it.
We have it.
She's gonna call.
Okay.
She's there.
Nancy, speak.
She's getting it.
He's calling.
She's on the phone. Nancy, you're on the phone.
Put a speaker.
I'm on the phone. Yeah.
That's not fun.
Okay. Forget it.
All right, so we're gonna record her, and then when we do the final version of this, we'll have it in that. And I'm sorry, Nancy, that we have to move on, because we don't have that much time in this space. So I'm going to ask for Jonathan to come up, please, and give us, Jonathan, I'm gonna ask that you introduce yourself, because I don't know the whole backstory. I just know that my mom really, really loved you, and that when she was in the hospital, Jonathan sent a song, and we watched it, and she was shining so brightly listening to you, and we will all shine just as brightly right now. I cannot wait to hear it. So thank you.
Improvise a bit because thank you so much for letting me sing a song for Gail here. I'm very emotional, and it's the first time I meet other friends and family of Gail in this situation, and I will try to do my best singing that song till the end. Gail was, and I think I can speak not only on behalf of myself, but Eric that is here and many other Israeli activists, that Gail was somewhat like our mother in America. For me personally, it was also even my address in America for the last many years. So I feel so much intertwined in your family, although I don't know you so much, but I have heard during the years a lot of stories. So on behalf of all these Israeli-Palestinian supporter activists, I want to just sing Gail a song. It was written by Maurice Rosenfeld, who was a Jewish poet living here in America, and his famous song, I think, was sang also in Camp Kinderland. It's called Mein Ruheplatz. It's sing the first part in Yiddish and then a little bit in Hebrew. Mitzvot michvu, gewinnt mich dort am Schatz. Lebens erkennt bei Maschinen dort mein Urplatz. Dort liegt mein Urplatz. Dort liegt mein Urplatz. Alte Maschine, רחוק באחור, אינני שם, עברתי, בצל אדמות, חיים אחור, שם כפור, למנוחתי, שם מקור, למנוחתי, שם מקור, ואם אותי הולך עובדת, אז בואי נא אהובתי. The words now is, if you still love me, my dear love, come here, my love, and from my heart, remove the sadness, and then my resting will be sweetened. So, it's just exactly how I feel that I can sing. So, thank you so much.
Barbara, wait 1 second.
Okay, I'm going to try one more time. Sylvie, yes?
Fred's saying.
Is that a wait?
I think you're good.
Am I good? Fred, can you put up your, okay, thank you.
Yeah, Sylvia.
Sorry for all the technical difficulty. My cousin Gail was kind of a magnet that energized and drew people closer. In any given moment, she was one of the most present people you'll ever meet. But she was also someone you could count on over a lifetime. You could count on Gail to make sense, to be real, to tell you her true thoughts. You could count on her to be courageous, outspoken, smart, stubborn, informed, generous, committed, articulate, and to go all in when she went in on something, which was, as all of you know, a lot of things. And at the same time, you could count on her loyalty, her humor, and her Upper West Side New York grit. Actually, you could count on her knowing what she was talking about when she generously shared her tips about everything. She was a closet researcher. She researched whatever she needed to know what she was talking about, whether a political position, a current event, a recipe, or directions of some kind or another. We all counted on Gail's clarity about political responsibility and accountability. She showed up. Way before many other Jews took up the call for the rights of Palestinians, Gail understood what was going on in Israel-Palestine and defied the Jewish community's pressures to never say anything negative about Israel. She bravely dedicated herself to Palestinian rights wherever she was, including in our family. I actually never lost the awe I held her in when we were growing up together. I was a little kid, and she was that older cousin, that beautiful, powerful, smart, and edgy cousin I wanted to be like. And unlike most people I've known, Gail was never afraid of conflict. Close and distant to my mother over her life, Gail was actually more like her than she'd like to have admitted. She had that codec intensity, and their belief that you could make the life you wanted and could count on family to help you do it. I think she got those things from the Kodak women. But Gail always had a confidence that, in my mind, differentiated her from the Kodak women, including myself. A woman who doesn't much take to worrying about what other people think about her is still a rare and beautiful thing, and I loved her for it. I've always been able to count on Gail's honesty, even when sometimes I didn't entirely want it. I counted on her as a role model, and I counted on her courage to help strengthen mine. Gail was fierce in pushing for what mattered to her, and fortunately for me and many of you, family was one of the things that mattered most to Gail. Like many others, I saw her as the matriarch of our whole family for the last many years now, as well as her immediate family. Many of us who don't live in New York counted on Gail to share her home with us when we were there. She kept our New York family hearth. We all know that bed that's so high to get off of in the morning, Neil's photos on her walls, her fascinating bookshelves in the oh so New York feel apartment. Hers was the home I had left in New York. To the 15 Kodak elders who are still around, you can check me on that later. I know you get it when I say how hard it is to sit with how many of the grand old trees of our beloved family forest are no longer here. To the next generation, my thanks to you who put thought and care into keeping our family connected. I think you all get it, that without our Gail, we need you to help weave us together even more. Anyone who knew Gail, especially those of us who've known her whole life, know how much Gail was able to become fully who she was because of Billy's steady, loving presence. Gail stood firm and independent because Billy was at her side, or at whatever distance either or both of them needed. Billy, a relatively quiet presence at many of the functions I've gotten to be with you at. Besides enjoying your humor and smarts, I've always been struck by how you reflected and amplified Gail's light. But Gail's ability to love, with all the strength, stretch, and growth that deep love gifts us, grew first and foremost out of her love for her kids. Alex, her deep love and respect for you, stretched by separations, never ever thinned. Life's turns that one can't control birthed a mature kind of love that settled in very deep in her. Allegra, the crazy times in your youth when love's loyalty stayed the course, laid the path to so much pride, mutual understanding, and peace of mind as the years moved on. Sylvie, always strong and steady, you gave the gift of love that Gail could always lean into with pride. Every strong woman knows that being able to count on a daughter is an immeasurable treasure. I actually don't feel like I can really describe the expanse of love Gail had for all 5 of hers and Billy's children, and each of the 15 grandchildren that made up the special community of her immediate family. You all gave her so much nachas and made her very, very happy. I didn't see Gail day to day as much as many of you assembled today, but I always felt more secure because she was in my life. I have many people in my life, but not that many I know that I can count on. I'm really sad that I wasn't able to be there today, but I want Alex, Sylvia, and Allegra, and Billy, and all your children to know that in addition to looking for ways to have fun together, I'll always come through for you in ways you might need in any way that I can. Gail did that for me and my kids, and I'll do that for you. Finally, I just want to say, Gail's very close in my mind and my heart. She's irreplaceable for me, as well as for the rest of my family. Thanks.
Yes.
Wait, do I bring this down or I don't touch it, right? All right.
Be careful.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Stay close to the mic.
Stay close to the mic.
And turn it on. Turn it on.
Hello?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. I didn't actually write anything down, Sylvie. I mean, I have a lot of thoughts and I have a lot of notes, and I've been thinking a lot about this for a while. I mean,
This one has to come off. Which part?
this one will just turn off. So I met Gail when some of her children weren't even born yet. But and some of my children weren't even born yet. I'm a friend that met her in the early 70s. I had come to New York, not knowing a soul. And I was kind of lost a little bit. I was pregnant myself with my first child. And the place I went to find community, to find family, the first place I went to was a place called the Broadway Local. It was a food co-op on the Upper West Side. And there was Gail, also pregnant. So there we were, both pregnant. And I knew in it's kind of like you just know it in your blood. This was a sister. But, you know, it's not just that she was a sister, because it turns out that we learned many years later that she actually came from the same Bavarian that my family had come from, Babrusque. So I think, you know, she's a relative, you know, she's in my blood. We were in each other's blood, because we knew that right away. And from the beginning, she a little bit took me under her wing, but she doesn't, you know, help that much. She just, you know, pushes you out. There I was in New York, not knowing a soul, the Broadway Local, and you know, I adjusted. I had been pretty political in my own past, coming from California and being very involved in politics through the 60s. And there was Gail, very involved, and we just hit it off. And then we raised our children together. We actually, when Allegra was born, Sylvie wasn't born yet, Alex was a young boy, we did parent exchanges with these little infants because neither one of us wanted to be at home all day with children. And then we built a parent cooperative together, a parent cooperative. So we ran this cooperative and we raised our children together. And I actually ended up doing my dissertation about this parent cooperative because it's all about building extended family. And that's what we did. We built extended family. And not only do have her children still very much in my life, but I have her grandchildren in my life, and we're all extended, and it all comes from Babrusque. I know it, it's in our blood. she's a Landsman. She was a Landsman. She is a Landsman, and they are Landsmans. And that means a lot because, you know, Gail represented for me all the things you've heard about in terms of her family. She was strong, she was committed, she was powerful, and I needed a sister like that in my life, and she represented that throughout my life. Is that it? That's it. Thank you.
Give me 1 second. I'm working on the Zoom, getting the Zoom sound because we've been having problems. So if I could just have 1 second. No. Okay. Okay. Hang on 1 second. Can people in the meeting hear me? Somebody say on the chat if you can hear me.
Good afternoon.
Can you stay really close to the mic?
Really close. Is it enough? Is this good?
Yeah.
All right. My name is Mary Logan-Askew. I had the pleasure of meeting Gail when we both were at and worked at Central Park East Secondary School back in the 80s. Even though my master's was in social work, I was a teacher. And Gail was the social worker on the school-based support team for the school. I remember she had a beautiful long braid, which caught my attention when we were in meetings together or just in the hallway. She was beautiful. Since I had worked in a traditional junior high school for 18 years before that, I was unprepared for the philosophy of this developing progressive educational approach. I learned so much from Gail during those years as we worked to support kids using their minds well, individually and as a community. Gail was an important force in deepening pathways to learning, developing new ways to know students and facilitate their academic progress. We became colleagues and friends. Now, skip to many years later, when Gail and I both worked at the Julie Richmond Educational Complex, which housed several different small schools with students ages toddlers through 12th graders. Gail worked with everyone in the complex. Gail benefited the entire community. We learned from her dedication to working with students through their struggles. She always found new ways to connect with both adults and kids. Her creativity was unusual, as were the pathways she developed for individual students to help them move forward. Quite simply, she was wonderful to work with, thanks to patience, her knowledge of family stresses and strains, her mastery of world events, all of her experience and fresh ideas. Gail was the kind of person who could figure out how to reach a disengaged student or struggling kid. She would find an old guitar for a student who let on that he was interested in music. Her knowledge of students and their families ran deep. As she and I moved into retirement from full-time positions, we turned to supporting school social workers in consortium schools, the collaborative. Not surprisingly, the Department of Education had not created meaningful opportunities for social workers to learn from each other. Here I instinctively turned to Gail, given her knowledge and experience, and asked her to join me, calling up her experience and creativity. Of course, she rose right to the occasion. In our meetings, Gail was an amazing listener, and she always knew how to guide the conversation to tackle the right questions. Gail had incredible perseverance and was always available with passion for the well-being of students, families, and staff. Gail supported the work of the social workers and guided them to share practice with each other, share resources, and give professionals support. We've all continued to learn an incredible amount from Gail. It is very hard to think that our working together has ended. It is crazy to think I cannot pick up the phone, write an email, or contact her for her perspective and thinking. To me, she was a wonderful friend and colleague. I miss her very much.
Can you hear me?
No.
No? Help from the tech people. Okay, is this better?
Yes.
Got my tissues here. In addition to being very good friends, Gail and I... All right.
Maybe hold it.
Well, I have this and the tissues and this. Okay. In addition to being very good friends, Gail and I were both red diaper babies, and our family names were both Miller. We were also reading partners. For nearly 3 years, we met every 2 weeks or so, in person or on Zoom,
to discuss what we were reading and plan what we would read next. First of all, we were serious readers. We read with a pencil. In my family, and maybe hers, it was forbidden to mark up a book. Yet there we were, underlining sentences and writing question marks and exclamation points in the margins. Gail was totally independent-minded. She was never boring. This ranks very high with me. If she thought the writing was poor or the book needed editing, she said so. It didn't matter if the author was revered. She was thoughtful. She'd always say exactly what was on her mind, even if it sometimes came out to sound almost brusque. And she always made you think. We started off by taking a course in slavery at the People's Forum, which then morphed into our own reading. All told, we read the following books. I'm going to say them to you. Your eyes will not cross. It'll take just 1 minute. We read 2 massive classics on Black Reconstruction, a book on sugar slavery, one on cotton slavery, 2 books on John Brown, one of them a novel, a world survey of slavery, a multi-generational novel of 2 African families, one sold into slavery, a classic by Franz Fanon. I should say we reread that Fanon book. A memoir of resistance in Nazi Germany, and a book on capitalism and slavery in the British-owned Caribbean, which we were in the middle of when Gail got sick. You can see where we were going with this. Maybe capitalism, fascism, and slavery were all connected. Maybe. This spring, we took another class organized by the Abraham Lincoln Vets. Gail got sick halfway and was unable to attend the final 2 sessions. However, at the beginning of April, she did look ahead at the remaining curriculum and strongly recommended that I watch a video that she really liked. It was an interview of Abe Asheroff, a Spanish Civil War vet who had fought in Spain in 1936, and later built a community center in Mississippi during the Freedom Summer in 1964. On the tape, Abe said the following: "In Spain was the place where I learned that I didn't have to know I was going to win in order to fight. It became the main theme of my life. And that is that you resist whether you win or lose. You resist. That the process of resistance itself is rewarding to you as a person. Because once you know that it's shitty and lousy and you do nothing about it, you lose a piece of yourself." Gail chose the quote well. It's a good antidote to despair. It also fit her to a T. I thought the world of her, and I always will.
Gail, you are one of a kind. Gail, you cannot be defined. Gail, with justice you are aligned and you're always on the front line. Gail, your house is more than a home. Gail, you don't live there alone. We all know Gail gives safe refuge to all who are passing through the city. We all have to say WCA, freedom for Palestine, WCA. We're getting older now, we're getting bolder now. We have much work ahead to fight these war crimes. WCA, we won't forget those times. WCA. Role model for us all, standing against the wall. Gail stops only to drink some red wine. Gail, you are more than a friend. Gail, hosting events on West End. But Gail won't give up her weekends with Billy up in Woodstock. Gail thinks she's getting away, but we know Gail from the cause she can't stray. That's our Gail, who will still spend the day organizing or making face cream. We're talking about WCA, freedom for Palestine. WCA. We're getting older now, we're getting bolder now. We have a work ahead to fight these war crimes. WCA. We love you, Gail. Happy birthday! Happy birthday! That is the best. God, can I have that? Love you. Can I have that in my house going all the time?
On the corner of 100th Street and West End Avenue in 2004. First with my offhand remark with Gail about going to Palestine. That's all it took for Gail, was a remark. And then the chance meeting with activist Adam Shapiro's parents, Doreen and Stu, at a screening of the Palestinian film, Divine Intervention. This led to the coming together of a Brooklyn contingent of women and our Manhattan group, plus 2 college-age daughters, 80-year-old activist Teddy Epstein from St. Louis, Susan Johnson from Pennsylvania, and Arlene Young from Canada. We all came together. Most of us met at Billy's office, eating and drinking our way through basic Arabic lessons, and took several disobedience training to deal with the brutal Israeli regime. With bottles of rescue remedy for stress and vinegar soaked bandanas, we all flew to Tel Aviv. 2 of us walked with canes over rocky terrain, but persevered. Before leaving the Berlin airport, several of our comrades, including Gail, disappeared. They had been detained by Shin Bet, one of Israel's security forces. We learned that 2 days earlier, the youngest of our group, Ann Petter, who had accompanied Hetty Epstein, had also been detained, and she remained in the large airport prison for 34 days. During our time in Palestine, we trained and escorted by 3 wonderful young Palestinian men who were shot at and tear gassed along with Palestinians, but also met with enormous hospitality and generosity. Over and over, Palestinians in villages and towns had one message: we are forced into isolation. You are our voice. You must speak for us. Go back to America and tell people what you saw and heard here. And while we, women of a certain age, were all in it together, it was Gail who was our lone star. Gail, whose joy of life, tenacity, and fearless me, she was my neighbor of almost 50 years. A friend who, when we bumped into each other on the street, we're still talking an hour later. I often wished she was my relative because I liked hers a lot more than my own. And I still do. And she was truly a role model in every aspect of life. Strong, defiant, brave, warm, and inclusive. Our love for you, Gail, is endless. Presente. Anne and I used to sometimes wonder whether Gail was cloned because we couldn't understand how she knew so much about everything and had a heart that was boundless. I actually met Gail around WCA through Anne, and the first time I really met her was at her apartment, and I fell in love with Mocha. And so Mocha, her dog, became a bond for me, because I'm very much of a dog person, an animal person actually. So we would correspond about Mocha. What strikes me is that this room is filled with people who know Gail in many, many different ways. Some from way, 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 way back, and some fairly recently. And there's nothing that anyone has said that isn't part of Gail. So much so that knowing her briefly is such a deep experience. And I guess there's something about Gail's authenticity, and that one just knew that Gail was Gail, and her heart was always in the right place and informed by passion and deep intelligence. A light really left us when Gail died.
Well, hello, aloha, and I'm in Honolulu where I live. Sorry I can't be with all of you great people in New York City for this wonderful opportunity to relive many of the great things of the life of Gail Miller. Well, I must say that you all in New York City are some of the strongest challengers to the policies of the state of Israel that we have in the United States. And that's how I started meeting Gail and many of you all in the room in 2011, when we decided we were going to have a U.S. boat to Gaza to challenge Israeli policies, particularly the naval blockade of Gaza. And you all, and Gail, part of our big team that put it all together, and many of you all are in the room. In fact, raise your hand in the room if you were a part of any of the boats to Gaza that Gail has been such a part of, from 2011, 2016, the women's boat to Gaza, 2018, Al-Ida, the return, and we're working on the children's boat to Gaza right now. So all of you all in the room, and I think I saw probably Jonathan, Lori, Jen, Dorothy, Ahmed, and Jenny, and I'm sure there's some that I haven't spotted out in the crowd. And then I've seen online, Jane is there, Lisa is there, David, Kit, Alex, Shabnan. So many people have been a part of this wonderful activist challenge that Gail was such a part of. I mean, the Israeli government ought to be shaking in their boots, because there are a lot of people, Gail Miller, challenging them on all of these terrible policies they have on Palestinians. So Gail was such a force on organizing everything, of trying to get the memberships, trying to get the participants. And she was a part of the participants committee, both on the 2011 Vote to Gaza and Audacity of Hope, and then for the participants in both the 2016 and 18, and helping our international coalition of 10 different nations that have boats to Gaza. And Gail was a critical part of our U.S. boats to Gaza. We've had some meetings of our little steering committee since Gail passed on, and it's always like, oh man, where's Gail? You know, we need her voice there, because she always, as is said before, she knew the history of Israeli terrible things on Palestinians, and she was always ready to put her feet right in the middle of it, as you all from the Ann and Jenny just now. So we miss her so very much. Boats to Gaza, our International Gaza Freedom Coalition, misses her so very, very much. And in the spirit of Gail, you know, continue on. She would want us to keep battling those terrible policies until we too pass on. So, dear old Gail Presente, thank you.
Thank you. Also, the Zoom people are saying that the sound is better if you leave the mic in the thing and don't. That's what they're saying. Okay. So, you know, I'm trying to.
The mic that isn't this one?
How's this?
Just do that one?
Try that one, maybe. Might be better.
Yeah, there's something wrong with this, it's not holding it up or
Maybe
something.
just switch that one, just take that one.
How's this?
Maybe they'll play that.
Well, I don't want to have them both on. What? How's this? Hi. Okay. Okay, just a quick story. When my daughter, Gracie, was about 6 or 7, she pretty much only ate mac and cheese. And one Thanksgiving dinner around that time at my dad's house in Brooklyn, of course, Gail had made a gorgeous spread that did not include mac and cheese. And of course, being the Jewish mom that I am, I had brought a little Tupperware, and just as we were all sitting down, I went to put some on her plate, and Gail screeched, "What is that?" And mind you, this was not Kraft, you know, it was like nice homemade mac and cheese, but no. Gail was having none of it, and I was slunk back, put the Tupperware away. There was no way that was landing on her table. And as I sat, super annoyed, you know, like as my father alluded to, she could be difficult. And I was sitting there as I watched Gracie eat bread for dinner. And I later, thankfully, Gracie grew up and did learn to appreciate Gail's fantastic cooking. And I also came to understand that that was just exactly who she was. She stood behind what she believed in, and she believed in that meal, and I was not going to screw it up with some mac and cheese. So, I miss you, Gail, and I love you, and I'm sorry it was mac.
Gracie, should I tell her? I actually gave Gracie a little mac and cheese that night. I wasn't even there at all. No, I shouldn't do that.
Well, you want to put it on fire?
There are clearly a lot of things about this day, this event, this service that Gail would absolutely love. Needless to say, the people here, the people here, the love, everyone being here for such an important occasion to celebrate such a memorable life, to just share an important moment is clearly what you love. But I hope I'm not inadvertently insulting someone, but I think you'd also love the fact that I don't see one tie in this entire crowd, not one. For a second I foolishly thought about it, but then so really I think she would like that. I'm sorry, Steve. I knew I was going to inadvertently insult someone, but Steve, you're classing up the joint. We appreciate it. I'm going to try to be quick because the previous speakers have done such an extraordinary job illuminating this certain memorable woman's life. I wanted to talk real quickly about her legacy, but again, it's clear that her legacy is strong and deep and richer than, we all have a right to sort of, to access. But my father, in his wonderful talk earlier, he talked about Gail's generosity, and she was generous on all levels, and with the resources she had. Larry and people talked about spending time in her apartment, with her time, with the books she would suggest, with her ideas, which were really important to her. What was really important to her was really important to the people she loved, and she made that clear. She cared about you, she was going to argue with you. I did a lot of arguing with her. I probably never argued with anyone about politics more in my life, other than my father, but arguments aren't always that good. Gail and I always got along well at the end of it, so that was always really nice. A personal legacy I'll take, but Gail was also really generous in leaving all of us wide, deep, Gail made it very easy for us to live her legacy. Needless to say, I can't say it any better. If you go out there and you fight for the right justice and dignity for the Palestinians, you are living Gail's legacy. If you advocate against the unnecessary, illegal, 50-year embargo of Cuba, you are living Gail's legacy. I mean, if you talk about equity in education, you not just work to change it, but then you work deeply, you put your time and passion into helping the people who the system doesn't serve, you are living Gail's legacy. If you tell a cop to fuck off, for good or for bad, you're living Gail's legacy. So there's a lot there. There's really a lot there. She made it really, really easy for all of us. And this is all the other stuff. I mean, if you care deeply about literature and you share that with the people you love, you are living Gail's legacy. If again, there's so much, the maple syrup, I forget who talked about Gail sleeping in the treehouse she had built with her grandchildren. One of them was mine. I mean, all this stuff, spending time with people who aren't even your family, who you don't know anything to, you are living Gail's legacy. There's really just so much there. So there's really no excuse any of us have. We all have so many different ways to live Gail's legacy. And so it takes all of us. I mean, out of the 150 people here, if all of us go out there and work really, really hard, collectively, we might be able to live Gail's legacy. So I just think we should all owe her enormous appreciation for the example she set. And I'm just happy to be able to say that publicly. And thank you all for being here. I know she would love to see us. Maybe she does see us. I don't know. I don't really believe she does, but she might be here watching over us. And if she is or isn't, I think she would be absolutely thrilled with what everyone said and how beautiful this whole occasion is. So thank you all for being here, and thank you all for watching live. I didn't realize so many people were watching this, so it's very meaningful to have such a great audience and to be able to talk about Gail to such an important group of people. So thank you all.
My parents were communists. So I led two lives. There were things that we talked about at home that I wasn't allowed to talk about anywhere. And it was very scary. The Rosenbergs were executed. Those two boys, their sons were a little bit younger than I was, but that execution affected all of us very, very powerfully. And we all knew that it could have been anybody. Could have been, although when I say we, there was no we. I didn't know any other kids whose parents were communists. And so I had nobody to talk to about it. And actually, I went to Camp Kinderland for only, one short summer when I was 7 or 8 years old. And I once went to a family therapy conference and wound up in a small group of people where somebody who grew up in a mafia family and I had more in common than anybody else in the world. I grew up in a sort of a working class neighborhood in Brooklyn. My father was a pediatrician. My mother worked in his office. And I don't know when they left the party. It must have been, I don't know, because I didn't know they were in it. Somehow I gleaned it over time. But I know that they remained loyal to their values always, and even when they weren't in the party, they were always available to bail people out of jail or stuff like that. So when I was active in the movement against the war in Vietnam, I was very I still consider myself that way. Very much a soldier, somebody in the march, somebody in the middle of the march. No, I was never a leader. I remember when I was at NYU when Leslie Kagan was, and she was a leader. Oh, do you know what? I always thought I was going to be the girlfriend of a guerrilla fighter, of an activist, of a leader. That's the way I saw myself. And so I'll tell you another little story that we always have a regular family picnic that we have every year, very large picnic, and there's always an intergenerational baseball game. So my father was like 80 and he said, "Hey, how come you're not playing baseball?" And my answer was, for the same reason that I didn't go to medical school. Nobody ever suggested it. That's one of the things that's sort of exciting about getting older, is that, you know, all bets are off and you can really do things differently. You don't play by the rules, the same rules that were in effect when you were growing up. Those rules are out, and you can make all the rules yourself.
What were you arrested for?
It was in response to the beginning of the Iraq War. And we, 250 of us, I think, or 230, were arrested for laying down in the middle of Fifth Avenue. And actually, my partner in that crime was Julie Hay, who had been in my affinity group. So that was really nice. We didn't plan to do it together, but I saw her there as we were walking around, and neither one of us had really decided we were going to do it. She had never been arrested before. And together we decided to do it. So there's somebody actually took a photograph of us lying on the ground, and I have that picture.
Sayartik.
Sayartik
belongs to a family for a girl. Sayarto.
Sayarto.
Sayaritha.
Sayarita. It sounds like senorita.
Sayaritna.
Sayaritna. I went to Nicaragua in 1984. That's kind of an interesting story to me, actually. I was working at Bellevue Hospital as a social worker, and there was a group that invited Ruth Messinger, Ruth mentioned that in Nicaragua, and this was in 1984 under the Sandinistas, there were so many of the young people or workers had gone off to fight the Contras in the hills, that there weren't going to be enough people to do the coffee and the cotton harvest. So they were asking for volunteers to come and pick cotton and pick coffee. It was pretty well organized, and we got to know each other pretty well. So that was interesting. That was actually very exciting to go around Managua before we went to the cotton farm, meeting with people in the street and people extremely hopeful, very different from Palestinians. It was the beginning of the Sandinistas. The revolution had triumphed in 1979, and so this was 84. And so it was very new, and people were learning how to read, and but everybody was very, very hopeful that things had changed for the better. And it was very exciting to see people there who had actually lived through a revolution, and they had lived under dictatorship, and now they felt like they had control over their lives and the direction that things were going. And they also did things like they rewrote books for school. They rewrote their history. They created heroes out of people who had been called criminals before that. And so Sandino had been considered to be a criminal and never to be mentioned. So when I came back from Nicaragua, I became active in a group on the Upper West Side called Committee for Non-Intervention in Central America, and later we added the Caribbean because Grenada happened. And it was a group of women, many of them older women. It was kind of a mixed group. And we had regular meetings, and at all our meetings we had an update. We would have somebody come from El Salvador or Nicaragua, somebody from those movements to update, or Guatemala, to update us on the situation. We almost always served food. We had great potluck dinners. But we always had some media thing that was going on in the background when everybody gathered together. There was always a continuous slideshow or a video. So I became very connected with the FMLN in El Salvador, and they had an amazing media component. They had a radio station in El Salvador. It was called Radio Venceremos. And so they would come up here and raise money and, provide a lot of information. But there were wonderful films made by women. There were films made by women in prison in El Salvador. A period I went to a wedding in Mexico City, and I brought donated used clothing and many blank videotapes and some money that we had raised, and met with very clandestinely with some guerrillas from the FMLN. Kind of cool that it was a secret mission to do this, but it was just such an exciting time. And you contrast that with Palestine, and it's or with the United States now. There's not a lot of sense of hope. Very small little things give us hope, and I'm very glad I was there for that experience, because it stays with you, the way things can shift and change. I think it's just an experience that you have that sort of becomes part of you, and you just understand that can happen, that things can shift and things can become very hopeful, and people can go from feeling completely oppressed to being in a situation where they're taking charge. And, as in Cuba, they said the same thing in Nicaragua, which is the hard part starts after the triumph of the revolution.
The ships are trying to reach Gaza just over a year after Israeli forces killed 9 people aboard the first Freedom Flotilla. Well, Democracy Now! Has been covering the mission of the U.S. flagged ship and the new flotilla, dubbed the Audacity of Hope. He files this report.
Ready to start pulling up the anchor? Let go of this line. So I have an announcement that the Audacity of Hope has set sail.
As you can see behind me, passengers are waving goodbye. The Audacity of Hope is setting sail. Passengers are singing, they're waving. Tell me how you're feeling.
I feel overwhelmed. I'm crying. I've been working for a year to this moment to sail to Gaza. We're in the ocean. I feel the winds. I'm with wonderful people.
hang on. Is the mic on? Okay,
I appreciate the break. Well, I can't think of my mother without thinking of my father. I think it's pretty normal, right? Gave us life. I also can't think about my mother smiling and happy and relaxed without thinking of Billy. Such a gift to have him and the rest of our family. Jessica, Peter, everyone, just so important for me to share. You know what a beautiful, brave man you are. Really appreciate you. You know, I never had to explain to my mom why I felt torn, you know, between two lives growing up. She just understood. And I was really actually struck by what Barbara said, that she just threw you out into the world. And I know she did that for me. She put me on the subway so young that I regularly had adults coming up to me asking me if I was lost. And sent me to summer camp to Camp Kindleman when I was 6 years old for a month by myself. But you know, she was right. It all worked out. I had a great time at camp. I live in California now. I miss the subway all the time. And I just, now that I'm, you know, struggling and trying to raise my own kids, Alette and Langston, with their mother, Alexis, you know, I just, it's amazing. I just don't know how my mom did it. You know, there's listening to all these stories and all these causes that she was involved with. You would think there were 5 different people that we're all talking about. And she just did it so effortlessly. I know there's probably 20 other people that could have gotten up here to talk, told about 20 other parts of her life. And I'm sure, hopefully, they were let down softly, I'm sure. Sylvia probably told them the bad news. But she just was so many different people all wrapped into one, but she was always the same for all of us. You know, everything that's been said here, you know, as her firstborn, I agree with every single thing that's been said. Nothing really took me by surprise, apart from the details, some of the people here, and the causes that she was dedicated to, you know, I didn't even know about, which is crazy. But it's just a testament. You know, in sports, sometimes we talk about people that have a big motor, and it's usually some, you know, linebacker who just, you know, never stops, and that's really who she was. She just never took a break. She just was so dedicated to the causes and the people that she cared about. And I just take it as inspiration. She just always was charging full steam ahead. She set some unattainable goals in my mind to be the best read, the most knowledgeable, the fiercest fighter, most committed. And I mean, I appreciate everything Peter said. Makes it seem easy, but it's a lot to live up to. I spoke to her recently in her apartment before she got sick, and somehow got into this conversation about she was going through this list of things that in my life that she was, I guess, sorry for, or thought she made mistakes. I know it's very weird to hear. I thought maybe I was like, should look for a hidden camera if it was a joke. But it was amazing. I thanked her every time she talked. She said something else. I just thanked her for doing it because she had always been right. And I made a confession to her. I said that there's really only one thing in my life that I truly regret, and it's not a big deal. I was about 14 years old, and it was about changing high schools. She was adamantly against it, and so I went to my dad, of course, and took my side, and I did. And I have some regrets about it.
But, you know, I thanked her just because she was 100% right, and I think she really always was. She just had a good instinct about things. You know, my mom and I'm not the type of person that really you know, opens up a lot about things, but you know, she always understood me, and I think she, you know, really always understood everyone. She understood life, and I think that's, you know, maybe on a deeper level, or she just had a real understanding for people and for life. And I think that's why, you know, she just could see life and injustice so clearly that she was just committed to traveling the world to try to help people, to opening her heart, to her home to help people. I can't tell you how many people that we had living in our house when we were growing up. You know, kids, drug addicts, criminals, but cousins. But she just was, yeah, right. Some of those were all three of those things. But she was just so generous, as people have said, and just so committed to doing the right thing always. It's just really inspirational. So, you know, I know I'm not alone in saying that my heart's broken that she's not here. You know, I think that all of humanity really lost a fighter, and you know, I just always know she knew she knew it had to be done to help, and she did it. And so when I talk to my children about, you know, justice and doing the right thing, doing the hard thing, I'm really just trying to train them to be like their grandma. I know they're getting there. And you know, there's a saying, of course, that everyone here probably knows, you know, from each according to their ability. And she just had so much ability, and she gave so much. And I just think the thing that sticks with me is the only thing that I feel that I owe her is just to carry on that fight and to give as much as I can. And I think we all share that. Give as much as we can to those who need it. And if we do that, like Peter said, you know, we'll be living a legacy. So I'm just very happy to see you all here.
Hi. Forgive me in advance for perhaps not being as articulate as everyone else. I'm my mother's daughter, and I kind of like to be in the moment, and so I'm kind of winging it out here. Fly by the seat of my pants. So yeah, you know, as passionate and committed as my mom was to so many things, her top priority was being the best mother that she could be to my sister and my brother and I. Even when maybe we weren't being the best kids, and by we I mean me. But she really, you know, and I could go on for a very long time talking about my relationship with my mom, which, you know, similar to her relationship with her mom, was complicated and combative, very combative initially for, I'd say, the first half of my life. But then it changed dramatically, and my mom became my best friend and my biggest support, and you know, I can't describe how grateful I am for her and how much I'll miss her. I want to say something, you know, as these are my favorite people aside from my mom and my dad, of course. And one of the ways in which Sylvia's almost always the best kid. But something that she did, which is really amazing, and I want to share with you guys, and it was mentioned, it's just last year for her 79th birthday, my sister came up with this brilliant idea to have. Well, no, it was her. We gave it to her
last year.
Sorry, whatever size.
COVID sign.
I'm not good with numbers. The social worker, hello. But so yeah, so it was her 79th birthday. It wasn't last year, but yeah. So Sylvie, I mean, just the most brilliant thing, and it's just so amazing. So this is a book that there's copies over there. If anyone is interested, I'm sure we can share this with you in other ways. But this is a book that my mom worked on for the past year. And it's a series of questions that she answered about her life. I don't know how many questions, there's a lot. 52 questions. Yeah, what I love too is very often she didn't like the question and she was like, I'm just gonna answer this in my way. But it's such a gift, and I wanted to share this with all of you who may have aging people in your lives. It's just such a wonderful gift for us to have, because in reading this, I mean, and hearing these stories, my mom was a very, complex, amazing, incredible person. There's so much in here that I just didn't even know about my mom. And with that said, I'm just going to read one excerpt of many that's about my brother, my sister, and I. So the question is, how did you decide when to have children? So she wrote, well, I thought 5 years was enough to gauge whether the marriage would work. So Alex, that worked out well. So after a while, it was time for another. Allegra, that delivery was so easy. On the delivery table, I said, I'm ready to do it again. My thought from a pre-marriage perspective always was to have 6 children, maybe of 6 different ethnicities, which she got in her grandchildren by then. I didn't want to repeat any nuclear family of a boy for you and a girl for me. And I also wanted to have enough children to outnumber the parents. So I decided to have another at the same time I was applying to social work school. Sylvie, kind of a full plate. I'm glad I did it. They're the best kids. They've kept me grounded, which they also do for each other. So all the many things that I'm grateful to my mom for, which I could go on forever, these are the 2 things that I'm really most grateful for right now, because you guys are keeping me grounded. That being said, I have to just tell you, my sister, you're awesome too. But Sylvie, really, I mean, my mom was an organizer. My sister is an organizer. And my sister, like, with Ellen, put this together. And, well, Jessica, of course, too. And Jessica did so much for the burial and the shows that we did. But it's just amazing, what my mom created here. So, thank you all for being here.
They really are the best. I'm not going to wing it because that's her role. But I printed for him and not for myself, so that's something I'm working on. To do things for myself also, but that's all about my phone. Anyway. I cannot actually speak too much about my mom without melting onto the floor today. She was, a lot of people told her she shouldn't have a 3rd child because she did so well with the first 2. And it's like if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? But she fought for me, according to her. She was advised by a lot of people that it was too much, and I'm only a 1.5 years younger than Allegra, so it was pretty fast, and it was a lot, right? But she fought for me to have me, and throughout my life, she's obviously been as supportive to all of these causes and all of these things in multiples for us, which is just amazing. And I will follow Alex's lead with the fact that it's hard for me to talk about losing my mother without also recognizing my father, both of which, you know, a lot of times you have one parent who's like a powerhouse, right? And the other one is the support for the powerhouse. And maybe because they weren't together, they both were the biggest people in each of their families. And it's a remarkable thing, and I feel very grateful for that. And I do feel like there's a lot to live up to, but I also feel like we're genetically inclined to meet those challenges. And so I'll start what I actually prepared, which is that my mom had a thing about funerals and memorials. She went to a lot of them. She went to them for people that she knew well, and she went to them for people that she didn't know well, and sometimes she went to them for people that she didn't really know much at all. But because someone that she knew was grieving and she wanted to support that person. She was not afraid to be upset. She wasn't afraid to cry. She wasn't afraid to touch her emotions. And so she got on planes and flew to see memorials for cousins that she didn't know, really, right? That she never really met or whatever. Because she understood the importance of being present, not just for the deceased, but to be a support for the family and the friends of the person who had passed. And so on that, I'd just like to thank each of you, both everyone who's here and everyone who's joining us on Zoom, for being present with us today and for paying tribute to her and celebrating her, the bonds that you have with her and the bonds that we share together. And it's monumentally important to me, and that you're all here is really such a tribute to the wonderful and very full life that she lived. I like to take care of myself by taking care of others, and I'm super crafty, and it helps me to deal. It's cathartic and therapeutic. So with the help of my husband, I had a vision for this. My mom liked plants, she liked flowers, she liked gardens, she liked mason jars in particular. This started because Billy was like, oh my God, I have so many mason jars. What are we gonna do with them? And I was like, I have an idea. And so while these are not my mom's mason jars, because I couldn't get the logistics of that down, my husband, thank you, Enrique, wherever you are, I love you so much, and my children who waited patiently in a burning hot car on the side of the road in New Jersey when I passed a farm stand and in a very Gail moment said, oh, let's stop here. On the way back from Quincy's soccer tournament, I'm gonna buy flats of flowers for my memorial thing. And then I went to the office and I told Daisy, who's my craft sister and my coworker, what my idea was, and she helped me design them, and then Liz and Neve from my office helped me put them together. And these are for you. So, you know, for those of you who can take them, please do. There's bags in the back, but they have her picture, and on the back it says, think of her with every gentle breeze, hear her voice in a bird's sweet song, see her beauty in every blossoming flower. And while my mom was gentle and sweet and beautiful, those sort of fall flat given her dynamism. And so I'll add to that. I'll also think of her with every storm. I will hear her voice with every cry for justice. And I will see her beauty, both in the dirt in my fingernails and in the changing of every season. And with that, I'd be remiss not to mention again Ellen Davidson, who is I'll tell you later how grateful I am for you, but for the moment, it just goes like, it is astronomical, the time and effort and dedication that she has put into this event with me. And I'm so grateful to you, Ellen. I love you, as I believe my mom did, and maybe a little bit more today. And so the last thing I'll say is that when my mom was dying in the hospital, I did not know what to do. And I'll tell you two quick stories. And one is that she was having trouble breathing, and before I was a year old, although you would know better, I had whooping cough, and I almost died. And there was a moment in the hospital that I felt so hopeless, and she couldn't breathe. And I went to her and I said, "Mommy, I imagine that this must have been what it was like for you when I was 1 year old and could not breathe, and there's nothing that you could do except hope that I would catch my breath eventually." And that's how I feel right now, and I'm thankful to you for taking me through that and bringing me to where I am today. And she thanks me for remembering it. And then when she couldn't talk anymore, and I again didn't know what to do, I sang to her as many songs as I possibly could. I went on to YouTube and I pulled up James Taylor, and one of the songs that I sang to her I think is appropriate for today, because it's both how sweet it is to have been loved by her, and it's how sweet it is to be loved by all of you. And so I'm going to ask Ellen and all of the children and grandchildren to come up just for a second, because I need to embrace all of you with this song. Oh, and the band. Come this way.
Thanks, Dan.
There's words on the back of your page. Nice.
Yeah, we're gonna like the guitar.
And thank you to Dave Lippman and Jonathan for joining my band at 10 minutes to 2 this afternoon. And this says I'm singing this, but everybody better be singing this. Rather. What's that? There you go. How sweet it is to be loved by you. How sweet it is to be loved by you. I needed the shelter of someone's arms, and there you were. I needed someone to understand my ups and downs, and there you were. You brighten up for me all of my days with a love so sweet in so many ways. I want to stop and thank you, baby. I just want to stop and thank you, baby. Yes, I do. How sweet it is to be loved by you. It just feels so fine. How sweet it is to be loved by you. You were better for me than I was for myself. For me, there's you and there ain't nobody else. I want to stop and thank you, baby. I just want to stop I thank you, baby. Yes, I do. How sweet it is to be loved by you. Yes, it is. How sweet it is to be loved by you. How sweet it is to be loved by you. How sweet it is to be loved by you.
And on that note, we have some snacks for you in the back, and I have programs that are going to be given out, and please stay and hang out for a few, take a drink. And thank you so much for being here. You're very welcome.
We're just going to close down the Zoom here. Okay. Yeah. And I want to thank all you people for your patience with the sound on Zoom, and we're going to close it down now.